perfect the art of committing something but never being made culpable for it. Abhijit Iyer Mitra. So how much of thought process would have gone in? How many mistakes they would have had to make to learn from it? It does this also show in the way they evolved as the names that they called. So from Student Islamic Movement of India, they become Indian Mujahideen, and then they become Popular Front of India. Everything is then India, India, India. There is no Mujahideen, there is no Islam involved at all.
They also had several other very secular sounding names. See, the thing is, the way international terrorism works is that it networks. It doesn't learn from its local mistakes, it learns from global mistakes. And you know, the template for this is how Pakistani organizations work. Because see, they have every different mazhab within Islam has a different terrorist organization in Pakistan. And you know, they themselves are split into the the civil wing and the military wing, so to say. So you know, like the IRA had the Sinn Féin, which was the political party, but the Irish Republican Army, which was the military part.
Right.
They've split that. They've also learned over the years how to overcome UN sanctions, because remember, every time the UN sanctions one body, the same people go and reinvent themselves as another body. Right. The second lesson that they learned was how to, you know, there's this saying unity in diversity. In this case, diversity was a diversity of organizations where everything is hidden, compartmentalized, siloized. And only the mastermind can sort of, almost like a jigsaw puzzle, bring it all together.
Right.
Working towards the same purpose, but with a diversity of names, but no diversity of ideology in that sense, right? The same end goal. So what they did was they literally hid it in the haystack, hid the needle in the haystack, so to say. A haystack of cacophonous, acronyms and word soup and what have you. All essentially working to the same purpose. And so what happens is, if one, the way siloized compartments get protect each other is, if one gets compromised, the other carries on the work.
Right.
It either takes on the work or its contacts remain the same, and then it pretends to be peaceful. It can say, oh, you know, we had nothing to do with these guys. These guys are different. Don't conflate us with them. So they have adopted, and you know, this is almost a book that has taken about 30-40 years to perfect.
Yes.
But it has been perfect. So, you know, we really have to appreciate how much effort went into this, but also how much effort our investigative agencies put in to be able to decipher all of this. Because, you know, it's quite superhuman to be able to go through every single nook and cranny and facet. And I bet you we haven't gotten, we've gotten about 60-70% of it, but let's not forget there are still overground workers, so-called civil society organizations and things like that still out there, which would be branches of this, which would have been shielded even from basic transactions or communications with all these other organizations in order to protect them. This is how these functions work. So, you know, when we did a deep dive into, Al-Qaeda was the originator of this. You know, they used to radicalize people on the dark web when, internet was still dial-up internet. And it used to require a great deal of expertise. ISIS came up with the self-radicalization modules. But what ISIS also came up because of those self-radicalization modules is you can create a suicide bomber literally in a vacuum. It could be somebody as simple as Abhijit Iyer Mitra sitting here who watches videos, gets radicalized, decides what to do. And completely unknown individual, pressure cooker makers and chemical providers, they come and deliver things to me, and I put the two things together into a pressure cooker and create a pressure cooker bomb. So, you know, these are very dangerous. They're not sleeper cells, really. They're free radicals in that sense, floating around, as well as free radical organizations floating around, which we need to be very careful about. And the only thing we can base this on is behavioral pattern.
Correct. So ISIS backed, ISIS inspired. Al-Qaeda backed, Al-Qaeda inspired. So let me inspire more people and say plausible deniability. I'm not involved in it. So this is something which you're saying that they've perfected the art. The other aspect is they are very benign. They're very peaceful organization who only come and throw petrol bombs at specific targets, who only break down, vandalize vehicles and force shops to be shut down. But despite 120 leaders arrested, they still have the ability to mobilize, Abhishek Banerjee.
Yeah, so Anand, because the experts on your panel have already spoken at length on the operational aspects of the PFI in a very enlightening manner, I thought I would speak a little bit about the historical perspective of this Islamism, the Muslim Brotherhood, Arab nationalism, and all these contacts that they have in the Middle East region. I mean, the story really begins in World War I, where the Caliphate in Turkey carries out this genocide of over 1 million Armenian Christians. So after that, the Turkish genocide state, it takes shape under Mustafa Kemal. And then in the 1920s, this organization, the Muslim Brotherhood, is born in Egypt, which is sort of the organization that, PFI seems to be somewhat at least modeled after. It is basically a pro-Nazi organization, and, the Mufti of Jerusalem, Haji al-Husseini. And then it slowly starts taking over the organs of the state. Of course, after the Second World War, the Nazis, they all find that escaping from Germany, they find shelter inside the Arab world. And there is this Arab nationalism that starts taking shape. I mean, President Nasser of Egypt, he was himself a Holocaust denier. Yes. Then it was followed in Egypt by Anwar Sadat, who also was a pro-Nazi element who had been arrested by the British. And so this Arab nationalism is slowly eaten up by the rising Islamism, which is pan-Islamism that, not just incorporates the Arabs, it incorporates the entire Islamic world, all around the world. And this is basically what I feel that the PFI is feeding into. And what I would notice is that, and I think others have said this as well, is that when I observe their communications, it is very polished. And in some sense, I could say it's very woke. And it's clear that, rioters on the street, internet trolls, they're not very well educated, but they are all speaking a very, very woke, a very unified kind of language. So somebody is definitely coaching them. And as I would say, I believe in the next few years, the PFI is slowly going to become India's biggest internal security threat, because the Naxalites are clearly on a downhill. So it's the PFI that's coming up next.